The topic for this video is structured conversations. All information in this video was obtained from the book, pictured here, Sheltered Instruction in Texas by John Seidlitz. I specifically looked at pages 69 through 75. So if you have any questions or need more information, please go ahead and take a look at those pages in your book. Let's go ahead and begin. What are structured conversations? They are structured language learning opportunities for student conversation and discussion, and they require intentional decision-making on the part of the teacher. So you can't just give a question and have students just randomly start answering. There's more to that. So let's go ahead and discuss that. The first thing that you need to do as a teacher is choose the topic. So in math, I could choose slope, for example. The next thing you need to do is decide the format of the discussion. Is it going to be a whole group thing, small group, or just student-to-student discussion? Afterwards, decide the length of the conversation. Is it going to be a large lesson where you need an extended conversation? Or is it just going to be like an exit ticket and be kind of brief towards the end? So maybe a good 10-15 minutes at the end of the class. Afterwards, identify which need to focus on. Now, make sure that you talk about all of these needs throughout the year. Students need to have opportunities to practice each one of these needs because they need to be exposed to them. So what are they? They could be asking and answering questions, summarizing information, clarifying ideas, offering or justifying opinions, and comparing and contrasting viewpoints. After you decide which one you want to focus on, create a sentence stem to address your focus. Here's a little tip. Make the vocabulary accessible to students. So if I want students to discuss slope and rate of change, those are vocabulary words for that, or formula, I might go ahead and write those words down on the board so that students know that they need to use those words. And you can even discuss those words beforehand so that students know what they mean and how to use them. What are the benefits of structured conversations? Students who speak using the targeted language understand on a deeper level and create a more durable memory trace. So when you talk about something and you're learning the vocabulary and you're sharing what you learned, you're going to remember it more. So students are more likely to remember that topic. It provides consistent and systematic oral language practice and support for English language learners. So they're practicing, they're talking, they're discussing, they're sharing. Collaborative dialogue will prepare English language learners to interact with their native English-speaking peers. So whenever they're speaking with another person who speaks English, they will know how to discuss things, how to compare and contrast, how to explain their ideas, and to use the vocabulary the way that it's intended. Students will also gain familiarity with new language forms, hear other ways of describing academic concepts, and hear themselves articulate an academic message. And finally, the thing that you came for, it's an effective way to meet the language objective of a lesson. One of the best strategies to practice structured conversations in your classroom is the QSSSA strategy. Let me go ahead and discuss what these letters mean right now. So Q is for question. So what you do is you're going to pose a question. The first S is signal. So after you pose a question and the students think about the question, they're going to give you a signal to show that they're ready to share their answer. So a signal could be that they could stand up, they could sit down, they can raise their hand, or they can put their finger on their chin, whatever you want it to be. The next S is stem. So you're going to give them a stem that they're going to use to answer the question. The final S is share. So they're going to go ahead and share their answer. They could share with a partner or they could share aloud in the classroom. And the final letter is A for assess. So after they have shared, they're going to go ahead and do some sort of work to show that they understand. So that could be just working in a workbook, answering some questions, writing in their journal, whatever they want it to be. Okay, so here's an example of QSSSA for math. So the question is, Maria concluded that the slope to the following question is -2/3. Do you agree? Explain yes or no. And as you can see right over here, I showed the work, and the students are supposed to take a look at the work, and they're going to tell me if it's correct or not. Now, in this case, it is not correct because Maria forgot to put an extra negative. So on the bottom there, it's supposed to be -4 minus -2. And so she actually got the answer wrong because she did not put a negative there, which is a very common error. So this would be kind of a good way to make sure that students don't make that error, because we've discussed this error before. So after students go ahead and think about their answer, they're going to give you a signal. So the signal here is give a thumbs up when you're ready to respond. And the stem that they would respond with is I agree or disagree with Maria because. And they are going to share with their partner. They're going to turn to their partner and talk. And then afterwards, I would randomly call students. So for randomly calling students, you can even make it like the tallest person in the group has to share, or the person with the first name in the alphabet, like if it's A, they would share first, etc. Finally, after we have shared and we have discussed this, it's time to assess. Students can solve problems 1 through 5 in the workbook, which would be about slope. Another example, here's an example for language arts. So the question is, what happens in the first paragraph of the story? The signal is raise your left hand when you're ready to respond. I really like that this was specific left. That way students practice their left hand and their right hand, plus it's extra vocabulary. They would know that left is, left. Some students don't know that if they don't speak English. The stem is in the beginning of the paragraph. They fill it out. And the share would be a think, pair, share with a partner. And then the assessment could be students take 10 minutes to write down the answer in their journals. If you would like more examples, please go ahead and take a look at pages 70 through 71 in your book. Okay, so here are some example sentence stems, and this one is for asking and answering questions. So I'm not going to go ahead and read all of them, but here are some examples. How do you know blank, blank, blank? And then I know X because, etc. So if you need to, go ahead and pause the video here to read the sentence stems for asking and answering questions. Here are some sentence stems for summarizing information. So you could pause here as well to read it. So I learned blank, blank, blank. One thing I want to remember is, the first thing you need to do is. So these are all really great that I would like to use in my classroom. Here are some more sentence stems for clarifying ideas. So if a student doesn't really understand or they need more of an explanation, they can use these. So tell me more about. Or, so are you saying, so go ahead and pause again if you need to read more. Okay, some more sentence stems for offering and justifying opinions. I feel, I believe or think that, or I like, dislike X because. Here are some comparing and contrasting viewpoints sample sentence stems. I see it differently because. You said X and I think. I agree or disagree with X because. So these are nice ways for students to agree or disagree, to compare and contrast things in the story. If you would like some more sentence stem examples for all of the topics that I brought up, please take a look at page 72 in your book. Here is the end of the presentation. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned something and you will use the QSSSA strategy in your classroom.